Every day is a new beginning. Shine your light. It's a day and the world is waiting. Move along to the song, singing in your soul. Feel the beat, clap your hands, let's take control. All you need, all you want, are you ready to find your way? 'Cause every day is a new day.
Welcome to Wisconsin Family. I'm Jessa Jeremiah.
And I'm Justin Riley, and boy, we really lucked out today, didn't we, Jessa?
We sure did. This is picturesque. It's perfect.
It's great. We're at the beer garden at Capital Brewery in Middleton's backyard.
Wish you were here. It is so great out here.
If you have not come down here yet this summer, you need to make it out here. They've got great music. They've got food vendors that come out here, and of course, great beer. It's a time to just come here and relax and have a good time.
And although they don't look it, they are 30 years old.
30 years old. They don't look a day over 29.
That's right. It is just incredible. 30 years is a huge milestone, and they're doing some really fun things. We've got to sort of get some of the history from them over time, but they're doing some throwbacks, and we're going to get to talk to their brewmaster and learn about some of the thought process behind how they even create these great beers.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to that. They've got some ways of infusing different flavors in the beer that's just really exciting.
So much fun.
Yeah.
We've got a great show for you all around. We're also talking to our friend John Scherer over at Trinity Financial Planning, and perfect topic for me and really for any family out there, talking about finances when you're expecting. And boy, the family dynamic changes, and it changes the financial dynamic as well.
It really does, and he's going to talk about some ways that you can save for different things like daycare that you never think you would need to save for. But
I know, doesn't that seem to be an afterthought, but it's such a big
is.
expense.
Yeah, it really is.
So really some really smart tips for families that make it easy. And then we're also going to be chatting with Laura Mael, who is from the Better Business Bureau, and summer is the time to get scammed. So unfortunately.
What better time to get scammed than summer?
What better time is there?
Yeah, she's going to talk about how people who want to do work on your home, you know, remodeling and so forth, you really need to do a thorough background check and make sure that they're a credible company. And she'll give you some tips on how to do that.
Coming up next, so stick with us.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Family. It's a bright and sunny day here at the beer garden here at Capital Brewery.
We're in Middleton's backyard, and it's lovely.
It's lovely. It's always lovely. And it's summertime. Summertime's approaching us, and here to talk a little bit more about some things to consider during summer is Laura Mael from the Better Business Bureau. Laura, welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you for being here with us today. So, summertime is here. People usually start looking for opportunities to do home improvement, those of us who are homeowners out there. But there are some things to be aware of if people come knocking at your door and say, hey, I can fix that for you. There's some things to be aware of. Can you talk a little bit to viewers about what people should be looking for when people come and knock at their door and try to sell them something like that?
Sure. If someone comes to your door and says, hey, I have all this extra material left over from a project, I'll give you a really good deal. You can get something at a reduced rate. Be very cautious. Contractors are very careful with how much material they order. They never have anything extra. So that good deal probably isn't a good deal.
Okay, interesting. So the extra material thing is just kind of a ploy to get their foot in the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, okay.
Makes it sound really enticing.
I know,
Like, wow, what a great time.
Yeah.
It's meant to be. So, and you mentioned that, I mean, a lot of these people do go door to door or cold calling, things of that nature. What do you do then to sort of validate them? Do you ask for identification? If so, what do you look for?
Yeah, so you want to know that you can identify who you're speaking with. So they should be able to give you any kind of information that you ask for, the name of their business, their address, their location. They should give you a photo identification. You know, it should be either a business ID or a driver's license, something like that, as well as a business card, right? But you don't want to stop there. You don't want to just have someone come to your door and pick them up right away and have them do the work. You want to say, thanks for coming, I'll get back to you.
Sure.
And then go and check with like a NARI or an MABA or the BBB and see if these professional organizations have any information on this on this company so that you
Yeah.
can really validate who they are.
No kidding. And even if they are a good, a legitimate company,
Yeah.
you check a site like that,
Yeah.
you might find out what kind of work they've done in the past.
Right.
A good deal
Absolutely.
isn't always as good as it seems.
And oftentimes companies that have the affiliation with those types of associations like NARI and so
Yeah.
forth, obviously they'd be a little bit more credible if somebody
Absolutely.
like NARI is going to back them
Yeah.
up. So
Yeah, all of us require an ethics statement to be signed.
right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say that you decide that, okay, these people are reputable people. I want them to work for me. I want them to do this work. They bring you the contract. What can you do when you're reading over the contract? What can you look for? What should you be looking
If
for?
you read the
If you read-
contract,
well, obviously
if you're
you
like
should.
me,
It's true, you
go,
gotta read it
"Oh."
first.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Well, you want to make sure the contract states who's responsible for different certificates and building permits and things like that. You want the contractor to be as responsible for all of that as possible, but you need to make sure you know what's in the contract,
Yeah.
who does what. You want to make sure you know what kind of licensing that company has. You want to know what their return policy is, so to say,
Right.
or are they going to come back and check the work in a couple of days, make sure you're happy. How much are you paying up front versus how much do you pay at the end? All of those details are really, really important. Just imagine paying for everything up front and then the work never gets done and it's
Right.
in the contract that you could pay and they could come back later.
Right, right.
Unfortunately, you do hear horror stories like that of contractors just not completing their work.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
So explain I don't know what this is. I've not heard of this. There's a 3-day cooling
Yeah.
off period that was instituted by the FTC. What is that?
Yeah, so very similar to when you own your own home and you get a second mortgage, you have a 3-day right to rescind that. So you could have a second thought and say, this is my home. I don't want to put it on in any kind of jeopardy. I have changed my mind. It's the same concept.
Okay.
Somebody comes to your door, you sign up for a very expensive project, and you decide 3 days later, that's just too much money. We're just not going to do it right now. You have the right to say no. When you get your original contract and sign it, you should get a right to cancel notification paperwork from the contractor so that you can sign it and turn it back in. And then they have 10 days to return your money.
Yeah.
That's really nice because sometimes you don't know how you feel about something
Yeah.
until you set forth in motion.
Yeah.
And it gives you sort of that moment of buyer's remorse
Right.
to say, oops,
Right.
maybe this
Right.
isn't right for us.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
So, unfortunately, even though there's a lot of protection out there for consumers and so forth, and you guys do great work in helping with that effort, people get scammed.
Yeah.
I mean, people get had. So
Right.
what happens, and I think it's nothing to be ashamed of because there's
Right.
some great scam artists out there.
Right.
What should people do when they get scammed?
Justin's complimenting all
Good
you
job,
really
guys.
good scam artists out there.
Yeah, if you find that you've been scammed, please contact the
Sure.
office here in the Madison market. It's 608-268-2221. And Brenda or myself will help you through that. We have a database, a scam tracker database. We're happy to record the information, save it just in case authorities can track this person down and grab them, then they have your information. But at least you feel empowered to tell other people, this happened to me, don't let it happen to you.
Absolutely. So
Right.
take the initiative and
Yeah.
be the example and
Yeah.
don't let it happen to somebody else. So,
Absolutely.
Laura Mael from the Better Business Bureau, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Don't go away. There's more Wisconsin Family coming up right after the break.
'Cause every day is a new day.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Family. We are outside enjoying the lovely weather here at Capital Brewery in Middleton.
Perfect day to be filming outside, I'll tell you.
No kidding. It's a great day to have this job, right? For all of us. So we're going to chat with those folks a little bit later. We are joined now by John Scherer of Trinity Financial Planning, and we're so pleased to have you back. Thanks for joining us.
Great, good to be here.
Gosh, John, we've learned so much from you over time, and you've given us some great financial advice and some great sort of rules to go forward in our financial personal lives. Let's talk about something that is near and dear to my heart right now. We're talking about what to do when you sort of lead into having a baby, when you're expecting. So we're going to put some of these key topics together. Give us some advice when you're with child.
Great. You got all these individual things like, okay, what's a real life situation that you can put it into?
Absolutely.
So the first thing when you were preparing for a baby is to really play defense and look at protect the downside of the things. And one of the first things we talk about with people is to get your wills updated. If you don't have one, get one in the first place. And then make sure that the guardians are named that you want, if something happens that you got those things taken care of. That can be a really hard thing to talk about, but if it's hard for us to talk about while we're here, if something happens, to have your family members or somebody else try to decide what happens to your kids.
Sure.
So getting the wills taken care of is really one of the top priorities as you're getting prepared for having a baby.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is one of those things you sort of don't want to have to think about, but when you have kids, it does become important because it's not just you anymore.
Right, you're responsible for the other little person,
right?
Absolutely.
And it is a hard thing to talk about because when you're with child, I mean, you're at the early stages of your life, and you're kind of at the prime, and you don't want to think about the inevitable.
Absolutely.
So, but okay, so we get our wills taken care of. What's the next step, John?
Well, we're still playing defense. We talk about getting enough life insurance, and again, it's sort of those negative things, but it's one of those that, hey, it happens, and that's why we have it. You hope that you're at the beginning, and it never has to be an issue. But we've talked about it before on the show. Making sure you have enough coverage, and one of the things talking about the wills is making sure that your beneficiaries are named correctly. We always tell people, check with your attorney on that, because we see a lot of folks that come in and their life insurance, they name their spouse as their primary beneficiary, and then their kids are their next if they're both in an accident or something.
Okay.
And typically, you don't want your 3-year-old, 2-year-old kids to be the person that receives all this money.
Yeah.
So it's always it's different. Different attorneys do it different ways, but make sure you check and get those beneficiary designations done right. Again, it's sort of uncomfortable. It's not fun to deal with, but once you're doing it, get it done properly.
Right.
Interesting that you say it that way, because that would be my instinct, would be spouse first and then kids second, no matter the age. But I suppose they're not probably really good with money yet.
Right. And then there are ways that the courts and the law takes care of it, but you don't necessarily want that to go through whatever the state law is on it. You want it to be how you want it to be.
Right, and could become a headache for those involved,
Absolutely.
I imagine, too. Okay, so once those sort of defensive things are set, then what?
Right, then we start talking about setting aside a little bit extra money as you prepare for things, because it's just expensive, right? And those things that come up that you're not prepared for as you're going through, and so whether it's $50, $100 a paycheck, if you can have a little pot of money, a few hundred, a few $1,000 when that comes, because there's always this or that, and it just happens, those unexpected things. We talk with folks about, just in general, have 10% of your income set aside in an emergency fund or in liquidity. As you're preparing for a baby, a little bit extra in there really makes a big difference when that time comes, so you don't have to worry about things.
Yeah, it sure is expensive. Boy,
And stashing away money, as you mentioned, that's an important part of, after you've taken care of the defensive ends of things. So
That's right.
That's an important part. So, are there any tips that you can give people for saving money? You mentioned 10%, making sure that you have 10% liquidity somewhere. Are there any other things that you can suggest in that realm?
I'll tell you, one of the things is just having a little extra pot of cash and just being sort of prepared for that. The other thing we talk about with folks is it's so exciting when you're bringing a new baby in, and all the things, and if it's especially if it's your first, all the things that are out there, and the gadgets and the toys and the clothes and all the cute stuff.
Yeah.
But we talk with people a lot about look at what the return on investment is, and from the idea of the kids go through, whether it's toys or clothes or things so quickly. There's a lot of great places. We talk about saving out of your paychecks, like how much do you save, but then saving how much you're spending on things.
Right.
Sure.
And looking at buying secondhand things, whether it's the clothes that are gently used. There's a number of large rummage sales around the Dane County area that are just focused on kids' clothing. There's Craigslist and things where you can find a lot of stuff at cents on the dollar, and it's still high quality, good toys and good clothing and those sort of things. And so it's fun to buy some of those new things and to get that, but then sort of temper it, like, geez, they're going to wear these things. You guys always have kids, they wear the same thing every day. If you let them sometimes, and sort of just manage how much you're spending, because it is so exciting to do, but it can be easy to overspend.
Yeah.
And the kids really don't need that much of some of those extra things.
Absolutely, agreed. Let's talk a little bit quick before we go about college savings. What's the best way to get started?
Well, that's one of the things that people think about when they think of, my financial stuff when I'm having a baby. And really, that's the least important of the things. And we've talked again on the show before about saving for retirement and other places. There was a study that just came out that said that the average, one of the things we talk about with folks is daycare, and the average cost of a 4-year-old in daycare here in Wisconsin is about $9,400. You compare that to the cost of the average tuition at an in-state school is about $8,400. So, the daycare thing, that's where if you start saving a little bit now, that once daycare comes in, you've gotten those habits.
Right.
And it comes out to be somewhere around 14% of the average income in Wisconsin gets spent on daycare. So focus on some of those sort of things, and the college things can take care of themselves down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice, as always, John Scherer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great, thanks for having me.
John has a fantastic website also, so make sure you check out Trinity Financial Planning on the web. We're going to be back with more Wisconsin Family after this.
'Cause every day is a new day.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Family, and it is a lovely day at the beer garden of Capital Brewery. We are in Middleton's backyard.
Middleton's backyard, indeed. It is a perfect day out here.
It's gorgeous.
Perfect day for
Oh my
filming.
gosh.
It's not too hot, nice cool breeze, not too humid. And we are joined now by Ashley Kinart. How are you, Ashley?
Great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks
again.
for
Good to see
having
you again.
us. Yes, we love coming here.
So, Capital Brewery is turning 30. And
Yep.
that's so exciting. We're so excited for you guys. What beers have you guys made to celebrate this great birthday?
Well, we decided instead of just doing one 30th anniversary beer, why not do a whole series of them? Have a little something,
really?
little something old, little something new.
Sure.
So what we've been doing is kind of some of our original beers, and either doing a spin-off or something special with them, as well as some kind of brand new fun stuff. So the first one we did was our Munich Dark, was our very first beer we ever brewed.
Yeah.
Just kind of mix it up a little bit. We did some coffee and vanilla infusion into there. Our second release was a pear Kolsch, which is really fun. It's a German style, but kind of a little bit American twist on it. And that was fun because we didn't actually put any pear into it. It was just the ingredients we were using and kind of the process. And then our newest one will be just coming out these next couple weeks is it's a spin-off of our Pilsner, which is one of the other first beers we did, and we're doing an imperial version. And actually our original brewmaster came out and brewed it with us.
Oh,
so
wow, how cool.
that was really, really neat to kind of get to meet him and hang out with him and kind of have a little the old generation, new generation collaboration.
So you've got some throwback going on here, which
Yep,
is pretty cool.
absolutely.
All
Go
right.
big or go home. I love that you're doing a whole slew of beers for the 30th. But you know what? That's a huge milestone.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. 30 years in the business. It's especially, these days there's so many craft brew companies coming up and people doing their own things. And you guys have just done such wonderful things over the years. It's fun to kind of throw back to the old days.
Absolutely.
And
really
may I
like
add that you guys were doing it before it was cool.
Oh yeah,
That's
there was
right.
when they said they wanted to open a brewery in Middleton. Everybody thought they were crazy.
Right.
Like, You're
Yeah.
not, there's all these huge breweries around. You're gonna open a small brewery.
little one?
Right.
How
Right.
is that gonna work?
Yeah.
So yeah, and nowadays, look at where we're at. There's almost a brewery on every corner in some places of the country.
It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
true. Yeah.
It's cool to be a part of the old school crew that
Yeah.
kind of spearheaded it for the
Spearheaded
rest
that
of
Oh,
us.
effort. Yeah,
absolutely. You've got some street cred. No, just kidding. But well, that's a ton of fun. 30th anniversary is a huge big deal. Some really fun things happening now. But let's talk about what's really important: the fall and winter, back when I can have some beer again. What are you guys planning to get you through the rest of the year?
So we will try to do one more of our 30th anniversary series, and that one's going to be kind of a play off our Oktoberfest. It is our best-selling seasonal, so we're actually getting into Oktoberfest brewing mode right now. It seems kind of early, but as far as kind of the lagering goes, you got to let it sit a little bit. So
Yeah.
that Oktoberfest will be coming out real soon. The Autumnal Fire will be ramping up for pretty quick here, and then I think that I haven't exactly decided what the 30th anniversary Oktoberfest is going to be, but it's going to be fun, and I think it's going to be, again, one of our best seasonals, one of the ones we've been doing for a pretty long time.
You
so
have such a fun job,
I know,
Ashley.
I
I
was just
can't
gonna
get
say.
over it. Like, you get to, kind of think up these things and decide what you're going to do and plan ahead, and you must love it.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's a ton of fun. There's
Yeah.
so many aspects to it. It's you know, a little bit of everything. So
Yeah.
you never get bored, for sure.
So you guys are collaborating with your original brewmaster, Mr. Fred Scherer. How did that come about? How did you just call him up on the phone and say, hey, you want to do this? Or?
Actually, he called us up.
Really?
I guess I didn't have all of my history of our company down very well, and so he called and left a message with our on the general line, and it's like, I don't know if I know this guy, and like he wants to come meet up with me and talk to our president. And Scott was like, oh yeah, here, I'll give him a call. He was really excited because I mean I don't think he's talked to him in years either. So and it turns out, so he came out and we had some beers, chatted about stuff, and it turns out he's actually a big part in the Master Brewers Association, which a week or two later would have been my first meeting.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, well, we'll see you there. We got to hang out there. He kind of introduced me to everybody, pointed out the new kid in the crowd, and so I was embarrassed. And so it was really cool. It's fun to kind of chat with him and see what has changed, but see how much really is still the same. Because I mean, the brewing processes, there's new technology, but there's a lot of stuff that will never change.
But beer is still beer when it comes down to it.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Boy, oh boy. Okay, so dating back to Fred, now fast forward to we have you, Ashley, and I'm sure there's been folks in between. How does the process work? I mean, what do you do to decide what you're going to make, decide what you're going to call it, decide what flavors go in? Like, how do you even start?
Yeah.
I think the first thing I like to do is when is this beer coming out? What kind of beer do I want to drink at that time of the year? Or is there a special event, special something going on? So for like this 30th anniversary, we knew they had to be fun. We wanted to have some kind of our traditional roots, or for a couple of them, we wanted to do something new and different we hadn't done. As far as the naming goes, sometimes it's kind of a collaborative effort. Who's got a fun idea, everybody kind of brings stuff to the table.
Well, you have the best names. I just love the names. They're so much fun and creative.
You had mentioned that one of your brews that you're coming out with for the 30th anniversary has coffee and vanilla infused in it.
Yep.
And I'm curious to know how the infusion process works, how that affects the flavors, and what does that process look like?
There's a lot of different times throughout the whole brewing process, and without getting too detailed and too much into the boring nitty-gritty stuff, we like to add it kind of a little bit towards the end of the process, and that keeps a lot of the aroma and flavors in there.
Sure.
Whereas there's some other stuff going on throughout fermentation, everything, that a lot of those aromatics and flavor compounds are kind of lost within the process. So infusing beers, you can kind of add it at a point to the process where you get your exact flavors. You're not worried about the flavors changing, and just kind of really pinpoint exactly how you want it to turn out. And it's a fun way you can take just a regular beer you're already doing and put some extra fun stuff in it. So
Absolutely, and make it work for the season. I mean, different tastes, obviously, as you know, change throughout the season based on the temperature and the moods and the kinds of activities you're involved in. So you get to make those adjustments as you go through the year.
Yeah.
What are some other things that you've infused beer with? Give us some examples of things you've done in the past, and I don't know, maybe some things you want to do going forward you haven't done yet.
Actually, our summer seasonal right now, for our draft version of it, we do a ginger lime infused version of the Lake House, which is this one right here. So that was a really fun one to infuse. There's a lot of ginger peeling involved, but it's pretty fun. I've been kind of messing around with some fun herbs and spices. If we have a special event for a bar or a beer fest, something like that, I did a cardamom and hazelnut infused beer, and so it's fun to kind of just go check out kind of the herb and spice aisle at the grocery store, at the co-op, and see like what kind of fun ingredient have I never used, and which of our beers could I use it in, or would I like to create something brand new
just for that
would be based around that. And I think I'll try to do some more coffee beer as well. My brother works for Colectivo, and so we got to kind of collaborate, and he sent me a bunch of samples on different roasts to use. So coffee, I think in itself, is similar to beer. There's so many different things going into it that your average coffee drinker like myself, I can't even put those all on the table, which is good to have my brother to assist me with.
Yeah, you guys are quite the duo and making quite the combo beer. I love it. So much fun.
You've got such a great variety of beer here, and we always love coming down here. So
anytime you bring a bucket of beer, I mean, come on.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
If you have not been down to the beer garden here at Capital Brewery in Middleton, you are missing out. So come on down. They have great food. They have great beer, I should say, and they have some great bands that come down here as well.
Great food vendors to come out and try it too sometimes.
Absolutely. So Ashley Kinart, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me again.
That's all the time we have for Wisconsin Family here at Capital Brewery. From all of us here, we'll see you next time.
Every day is a new beginning. Shine